Welcome back. So today we'll be looking at more of your hottest Arkham takes. In the last video I asked for people to leave their hot takes down below and you guys did, and so for that reason we're back for part 2. That video also went down really well, so it only seems right. We'll be rating each one of these takes on a scale of agreeability, so 1 to 10, 1 being I don't agree with this at all, 10 being, yeah, that's feasible. Keep discussion civil in the comments below. Everyone was really nice on that last video, and it just made the whole thing a lot easier, because I know people get a bit pent up over these games. I'm not being funny. They're games about a guy who dresses in combat armour and beats up criminals. It's not that serious. But anyway, subscribe because we are so close to 2,000 subscribers and that'd be insane to hit in the next sort of couple of weeks, maybe even this week, that'd be insane. So yeah, subscribe, like, and comment your hot takes down below if you want a part 3. But for now, let's get into these. So the first hot take I've got here is one that I actually really wanted to include in the first video but never did for whatever reason. I had it screenshotted, it was there, and I just didn't put it in. It's basically saying that Gotham Knights would have been a better sequel to Batman Arkham Knight than Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This person followed up by saying, I know I did comment this on the original post, but I'm entirely up for a discussion on a take. I'd prefer Gotham Knights as the next story entry and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League as an alternative Elseworld story. Not because the death of Arkham Batman, but rather it doesn't have the same feeling of overall connection to the Arkham series. Aside from the bits they almost point right in your nose, i.e. the Batman experience area of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and I feel like if Gotham Knights was handled with more production, maybe even with work from Rocksteady, it could have been the best Batman send-off since Batman Beyond. Still love all the games, maybe not as much as Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, but it still has its place. You know what, yeah, I agree with this. I don't think Gotham Knights was actually a bad game. I think it was like a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, and that's okay. Like, I think people, this is a bit non-Arkham discussion-y, this bit, but I think people are very quick to go, this game isn't a masterpiece, it's bad. Like, for example, as I'm recording this, Assassin's Creed Shadows has just come out. Now, as someone who's not a massive Assassin's Creed fan, like I'm very casual, I think my favourite one in the series is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I know isn't what people want in an Assassin's Creed game at all, but the new Assassin's Creed Shadows game, I've really been enjoying it. Like, I think it's really fun, and people go, oh, it's crap, but it's like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 6 out of 10, whatever, like around that range. And that's not a bad thing, and I think Gotham Knights kind of falls into that, where it's not a bad game. Like, yeah, Gotham Knights definitely had elements where it was like, okay, this is a bit, you know, mobile gamey or a bit loot boxy or whatever, because I know they did remove loot boxes initially, but it's not a bad game. I think the story especially serves a really good ending for a Batman that we never met, and I think that's a shame, and I think if they were able to get that help from Rocksteady and weave it into the Arkham universe, I think it would have been looked upon a lot more favourably, because the story isn't bad. Like, it's not great, especially the ending where it kind of just dies, like Batman dies again. Spoiler alert if you haven't played it. If you haven't played it, then cry about it, I guess. No, but like Batman dies and then the story just kind of ends. It's like, oh, okay then. I thought, like, so the Court of Owls, their leader dies and then another one just gets brought in, and I guess that's to symbolise the court's power and the fact they can't die, but it just felt a bit lazy. Like, oh, it's like they needed to cut the story short there, and so they did. Well, like, gameplay-wise, it's quite fun. Graphically, it's not bad. Like, again, it's a very okay game. It's a 7 out of 10. It's 6 out of 10. It's not bad, but it could be so much, or it could have been even so much more. And so I think there was definitely room to wiggle with it. And although, like that person said, some story beats would need to be changed in order to make it work. Like, Red Hood, for example, wouldn't just be there straight away. You'd probably have an arc where Jason kind of reintegrates himself with the Bat family, and that could have been so cool to see, like, how that universe's Jason Todd got back in line with the Bat family. And yeah, I think there's definitely some truth to that, in that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League didn't really feel like an Arkham game. I appreciate it wasn't supposed to, but at the same time it kind of felt like nothing to do with the Arkham series, apart from the fact that the Batman was technically Arkham Batman, And I think that's why a lot of people have called the game non-canon. I mean, I don't consider it canon. I'd like to think that after Arkham Knight, an entirely different story took place. And I think Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, like that again, like the person said, could have worked well as like an Elseworld story, just a standalone game. Because I think as a standalone game, the backlash still would have been bad because it's not a great game, and we'll get into that actually on our next point. But it would have been received slightly better because although, yeah, you're killing Batman, you're killing Justice League members, it wouldn't be as bad because they're not Arkham Batman, they're not the Arkham Justice League, who we can only consider if Batman is, you know, Batman's the human of the Justice League, as human as Arkham Batman is. The other Justice League members must have been insanely powerful, and so to be killed off by the Suicide Squad, you have to imagine that the Suicide Squad are also insanely powerful. And as we see in the Arkham games, they're not. We look at Harley Quinn, who got taken down by Batman multiple times, basically all just one-hitting her, like 4 times off the top of my head I can think of, where she just got one-tapped and that was it. Deadshot, obviously we see in the Arkham games, who, again, Arkham City he gets one-tapped, Arkham Origins he gets a cool boss fight, but he's only human. And then obviously we don't see Captain Boomerang and King Shark as much. I think they both appear in the comics though, but they aren't as powerful as Superman. They aren't as powerful as Wonder Woman, especially Captain Boomerang. There is a case to be made, King Shark, but he's not going to kill Superman, is he? He's not that type of guy. So I think, yeah, there is definitely a case to be made for that. And I'd say I agree with it. I'd give it a 9 out of 10 on the agreeability thing. On the agreeability scale, it's a 9, because Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League could have worked as a good Elseworld story. Gotham Knight really would have worked as an Arkham Knight sequel. Obviously, you'd have needed to change things like the gameplay, the story again, there's certain beats which would need to be changed, but as an overall overarching thing, yeah, I agree with that. The second take we have, though, is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is bad, but it's not that bad. It's not a 1 out of 10, it's more of a 4 out of 10. It has salvageable qualities. Now again, I fully agree with this. This, to me, is very agreeable. I think Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League isn't a dreadful game. It's a bad game. It's not a dreadful game. I don't want to spend too long on this because I feel like a lot of people would agree with this one to a certain degree. Because again, I don't think Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a 1 out of 10. The movement's fun, and in all honesty, the gameplay as a whole is fun if it didn't have Arkham to live up to. And I know it's an entirely different, set of skills that it takes to make a live service looter shooter and a single player Arkham game. But for me, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League would have been so much better received if, like I said before, if it didn't have to live up to any Arkham hype, and if it didn't take place after the Arkham games. Because that, instantly it was dead on arrival, because no one wanted it, it was pointless. But the gameplay, yeah, it is fun, it gets a bit grindy and a bit boring, but yeah, the gameplay's fun, the story's not great. But if you like that sort of gameplay, I can see how you'd get some fun out of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Again, I don't want to spend too long on this one because I think it's a pretty agreeable take. I'd like to think that the rational thinking people of the Arkham community would look at Suicide Squad objectively and go, yeah, it's not what we wanted. It's not a good game. Again, this isn't me sticking up for it because I was really disappointed. I pre-ordered it, the Ultimate Edition, and finished it in 2 days and then was just sat there oh, okay then, when's the next one coming out? Come on guys, we need Batman Arkham Beyond. So yeah, I can see how this is agreeable. I'll give this one another 9 out of 10 because it kind of depends what you want in the game, but I personally thought the gameplay, just as its own, was quite fun. Our third take says, aside from the 2 Origins DLC, there isn't a single good DLC in the whole franchise. Now for me, look, I'm just going to be honest with you here. This is wrong. I feel like this is just, again, I know, hot takes and all. This is probably the hottest take in the video so far, because I think this is just not correct. If you look at Arkham City's DLC, Harley Quinn's Revenge, and I guess even the Catwoman story intertwining in, because that was DLC initially, yeah, they're both good. Especially the Harley Quinn's Revenge DLC, I think that's really good. I think that's like top 2 or top 3 Arkham DLCs. But then we go outside of that and look at Arkham Knight. The Season of Infamy DLC is really good. A Matter of Family is really good. And obviously Arkham Asylum doesn't particularly have any DLC. But if we're just looking at story packs, which I am here because I feel like, obviously this just says single good DLC, but I'm assuming this person doesn't mean skin packs and challenge map packs. But yeah, no, I don't agree with this one at all. I think A Matter of Family is really good. It's a nice little sort of 45-minute to an hour long story pack where you get to play as Robin and Batgirl and in an entirely new world as well, and I think that's really cool. Like, I always like when the Arkham games kind of not take you out of Gotham, but put you in a place of Gotham we haven't seen before, and so I think that's really cool. Season of Infamy, for me, is the best DLC in the Arkham franchise, probably after Cold Cold Heart. Like, if you look at those 4 story side missions it gives you, you get Wonderland, which is really good. You get Under the Surface or Beneath the Surface, which is really good. The Mr. Freeze one, which I always call Cold Cold Heart, but it's not. It's called Heart of Ice. That's the one. That's really good. And then you've got Shadow War, which again is really good. Like, all of those are probably top 4 Arkham Knight side missions and their DLC. And so I'd like to think that's pretty high up there. For me, personally, it's my favourite. And a part of that is a bit of Killer Croc bias, because I just like the fact we got like a whole story pack, or a whole side mission for Killer Croc. I just really like that. But, no, I don't agree with this one. And then again, we look at Arkham City, we got Harley Quinn's Revenge, the Catwoman DLC. Again, they're both good, like especially Harley Quinn's Revenge. That's really fun just to see what went on after Arkham City, and we kind of get an insight into Batman. And then obviously you've got the Catwoman story, which intertwined with the main story, which I have to admit is really annoying to play through after a few times. Like, if you just want to play Arkham City and then it takes you out of it into Catwoman, it is a little bit annoying. But it's a good story. Like, it's a good intertwining thing. It's got the dual protagonist element to that, and yeah. No, I don't agree with this one. Obviously, this isn't to knock the Origins DLC. The Origins DLC is really good. I'm assuming this person means the Initiation and Cold Cold Heart, because they're the 2 big DLCs. Cold Cold Heart, for me, is the best Origins DLC, by far. Or not by far, but it is the best DLC for me in the franchise, not just Origins. Because I think that whole story is just so good, and it's like so animated series, and yeah, it's great. I love it. I've done like a 40-minute video going over that because I just think it's that good. It is a really fun DLC, and we get that section at the start we can play as Bruce Wayne, and I think that's really cool. Like, being able to play as Bruce Wayne and beat people as Bruce Wayne is fun. But then obviously you've got the Initiation DLC, which I don't think is bad. Like, it's not bad, but I think that's the weaker of the 2, especially when you compare it to Season of Infamy, Harley Quinn's Revenge, Matter of Family. Like, you then start looking at, okay, right, maybe Origins only had 1 great DLC. Again, it's not to knock the Initiation DLC, because I think that is fun. Like, it's good, but it's not what I see like in a DLC for me, especially in an Arkham DLC. Like, we know how Batman trained, we get that. Like, I'm not really too fussed about that. And I kind of like the other DLCs because they give us a look into something that isn't Batman's training. And for the most part, they kind of give us a look at the wider Arkhamverse, obviously within reasons. Like, even the story packs in Arkham's Knight that aren't very good. Obviously, the Red Hood, Nightwing, Harley Quinn, and Catwoman story packs. There we go. I don't really like them. I think they're a fun thing to play through once every year, maybe, if you're doing an Arkham Knight playthrough and you want to go for 100%, just to kind of tick them off in your brain, they're okay to play through. You can get through them all in about an hour, and I think they offer something, just not enough. I think there isn't a particularly awful Arkham DLC. There's definitely some lackluster ones, like I just said, but I think all of them offer something. Even if it's just world building, they all offer something. But yeah, I don't agree with this take. I'm going to give this a 2 out of 10. I just don't think Origins is the only game with good DLC. I think that's just not... So it depends what you look for in DLC. I personally just think that Arkham Knight has 2 great DLCs, Arkham City has 2 great DLCs, I think there's a lot more to offer there than just Origins. Origins probably has the best single piece of DLC with Cold Heart. I'm not going to dispute that, because that is a great story pack. But I don't think it's the only game with good DLC. Anyway, moving on, this person has said there should be more opportunities to just play as Bruce Wayne without the suit. Take it to just the basics without all of his technology, don't even have the detective mode. This is an interesting one, because I literally just said in that last take, and that's kind of why I've bundled them together. The section at the start of the Cold Heart DLC where you play as Bruce Wayne is really cool, because it is. Playing as just Bruce Wayne and beating people up it's fun. It's a Batman game. You want to play as Bruce Wayne sometimes. But, like, I don't know if we needed more of it. Because and obviously, at the start of Arkham City, obviously, you play as Bruce Wayne and beat people up. My issue with that take is that there's only so much you can do as Bruce Wayne before it gets boring. And I guess you could say the same about Batman. If you play as Batman for 15 years, it's going to get boring. But I don't know also how that would intertwine with the story. Maybe in Arkham Knight, maybe you could mix it in there. Maybe in Arkham City, he could just get the suit a bit later. That could be quite fun. But for me, yeah, I kind of get where this person's coming from. Maybe in later games, that could be really cool. And if maybe that's what they're referring to, later games and later entries into the series that are coming, that could be fun to play as Bruce Wayne, and maybe as the whole Bat family, just as they are. Maybe Wayne Manor comes under attack or something, I don't know. But that could be really cool. But I don't see how that would be too fun after a while. I feel like playing as Bruce Wayne would get a bit like, okay, this is a bit boring. And also the backlash that would come with that. You'd get into that Spider-Man PS4, PS5 backlash where people are like, I paid to play as Batman, why am I playing as Bruce Wayne? And like, when the Spider-Man games came out, I paid to play as Spider-Man, why am I playing as Mary Jane and Miles Morales, especially in Spider-Man PS4 when Miles doesn't have his powers fully realised yet. So I think, yeah, there is some element of that could be quite cool to that, like there genuinely is. But there's also a massive part of me which is like no, I don't think you'd get any. I don't think that would actually be as cool as it sounds, because it does sound cool, like beating people up as Bruce Wayne does sound pretty fun. But I feel like there's a massive element of that which is just like, no, that would get really boring really quickly. I like the idea. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Personally, it's just not something I would look at and enjoy, but you might be completely different, and I don't blame you if you are, because there are some fun elements you could go down there, but personally, just not for me. Next up, we just have 2 lists. There was no added context to these, and to be fair, I don't think any context needs to be added. It's just 2 lists. The first list just says most creepy. 1 Arkham Knight, 2 Arkham Origins, 3 Arkham City, 4 Arkham Asylum. And to that I say, no. That is not, no. Arkham Knight, for me, for its horror or for its creepiness, I guess they kind of go hand in hand, isn't the weakest. I think Origins is the weakest in terms of that. But for me, Knight isn't the creepiest game in the franchise by a long shot. Like, yeah, it has its moments, and I've been pretty outspoken with my opinions on Arkham Knight's atmosphere through ranking all the side missions. I think there's bits of it which can rival Asylum, and I've even said that. I think there are parts of Arkham Knight which rival Asylum. The 2 I always come back to being Ironhide Prison in the Killer Croc DLC and the hospital in the Ra's al Ghul DLC. Those 2 bits for me, especially if you just stand and listen to the atmosphere, are 2 of the creepiest bits of Arkham's media. Like, they're so well made, and I feel like they did a really good job in not letting the graphical fidelity affect the feeling, because I feel like often I always look at Gears of War. If you guys play Gears of War, I don't know what the Gears of War fan base looks like on this channel, but Gears of War for me, like the older version of that game, or the real version of that game, always looks creepier and always will be creepier than the newer remaster. I think it came out in like 2014 or something. Like, it's not a new remaster anymore, but it kind of is in the grand scheme of things. And so I think graphical fidelity can often overshadow creepiness, and I feel like, especially nowadays with graphics looking so good, it's harder to make a scary game, because older games have that, you know, they're not as polished, they're not as clean, the lighting isn't as good, and so everything's really defined, and I don't agree with this one at all. Arkham Origins being the second most creepy, for me, that's the weakest in terms of horror. I can't, apart from Copperhead, I can't really think of anything. Unless you count the Bane boss fight at the end, that's pretty terrifying, but for different reasons. Like, that's not horror, it's suspense, which I guess kind of might go hand in hand. Arkham City at 3, for me, that would be second or third, I'm not sure. So yeah, we could come to an agreement there. And Arkham Asylum at 4, like, come on. Like, come off it, that's, no. My list, personally, would be Asylum, City, Night, Origins. City and Night could go above one another on any given day. For me, the part of City, and the reason I'm putting it that high up, the bit that always stands out for me in City is Wonder City. Specifically that bit where you walk through and the camera shifts and, you know, there's the thugs hanging dead off the ceiling and the guy comes out with the knives in his back, and just that whole sequence and the voiceover of, you know, the ground will open and flames will engulf Gotham and all that. That, for me, is so cool. Like, I really want to do a video on just that sequence and getting into Wonder City, because I think it is so amazing. So, that, yeah. But Night, yeah, Night can be creepy. Man-Bat's lab, Kirk Langstrom's lab, that is also a bit of the game which can get a bit creepy, like, it's a bit eerie. But no, I don't fully agree with this list. Let me know in the comments what your list would be. Again, mine would be for most creepy. Asylum, obviously, that's a bit of a layup. It's definitely the creepiest. I'd like to think most people's would be number 1. I feel like that's fair. Asylum, Night, City, Origins. City and Night can interchange, but Origins for me is dead last. Like, Origins really just didn't creep me out at all at any point, really. I'm not saying it didn't have atmosphere, but that's our next list. Our next list is best atmosphere. The last list for me gets a 2 out of 10. Again, I don't really agree with it. I can kind of see why you'd put Night at 1, maybe, but Origins at 2, I don't get. If the person who wrote this can clarify in the comments, that would be great, because I would like to know. Because, say, I could be missing something. I'm not an Arkham encyclopedia, but for me, Origins, no. But the best atmosphere list goes Arkham Knight at 1, City at 2, Asylum at 3, Origins at 4. Now, this atmosphere is a weird one, because people like different things out of different atmospheres. For me, again, it would be Asylum 1, Night 2, City 3, Origins 4. Again, Asylum and Night and City, can interchange, because I think they both have their moments. But no, maybe I'd go Night. No, I wouldn't put Night at top. Maybe I'd go Asylum, City, Night, Origins. But again, City and Night are so close. And Origins, again, that game for me doesn't have atmosphere until you play it in around Christmas time, which I know sounds really stupid because the season doesn't affect the overall atmosphere of the game, but it just does. Like, that feeling of like cozying down on a December night, playing Arkham Origins, it is unmatched. And if we're going off that, Arkham Origins is 2. But for me, Arkham Asylum is 1. It's so, even to this day, that game puts me on edge. Like, it is so good. Like, I don't know what magical juju they put in the walls of that game, but it is so creepy. To this day, I just love it. And it goes into the simple things as well, like the character art bio, or the character bio art even. I love that art so much. I've got like a tattoo of, or I'm in the process of getting a tattoo of like a half sleeve inspired by that art, because I just love it so much. Like, at the moment I've got Penguin, Two-Face, Batman, Joker, Killer Croc, Poison Ivy, Riddler, and Bane on there. So for me, it's just such a cool thing. And like, even the menus, like, you never really feel like you've escaped the Asylum. It just blackens the screen a bit, and the font. And for me, the Asylum is just an unmatched game. It's so good. City, yeah, I can kind of see how that would have some sort of good atmosphere. Like, you are locked in a giant prison city with all of Batman's villains. I feel like that's a really cool sort of thing to go into. Night, yeah, I've heard a lot of people say they think Night has good atmosphere, and I think it does. Like, I think mostly it does. These people go, oh, night doesn't have any atmosphere. It does, it's just a different kind of atmosphere. But yeah, my list personally would be Asylum, City or Night. You could put those at 2 or 3. And then Origins at the bottom. Because for me, again, Origins really has atmosphere in December. Like, you get hot chocolate, December night, play Arkham Origins. Wonderful time. Greatest time of the year. But, no, I'm not sure on this one. Again, leave in the comments below what your list for atmosphere would be. Again, for me, Asylum. Asylum is unmatched for me in terms of the atmospheric side of it. The horror elements, the buildings, the moon in the sky, like the giant comical moon is just bliss. Like the whole thing for me is just unmatched. So yeah, leave in the comments. This list for me, I'm gonna have to put for 4 because I think City could go in 2, but then Origins I agree with. Asylum I don't agree with. City, yeah. Night, no. In fact, if you swapped around Asylum and Night on this person's list, you've got my list. That was probably just a better way to put it. So, considering I agree with 2 of those things, we'll give it a 5 out of 10. That seems fair. The next take we've got, though, is the Arkham series is overrated and needs to take a back seat so other DC heroes can get good games for once. Because it's stupid that the only good DC games we have is pretty much the Arkham games. This is a bit of a 2-parter for me. The first part is the Arkham series is overrated. I wouldn't subscribe to that, I don't think. Like, the Arkham series is spoken about in such high regard because it's consistently great. And so, I wouldn't say it's overrated. But then that's all I'm going to say about that. That, for me, gets a 1 out of 10. I don't think the Arkham series is overrated. It's the best superhero game series ever, so it deserves its praise. Then the second part is it needs to take a backseat so other DC heroes can get good games. This part now, sat here in 2025, I kind of agree with. At the same time, I don't. Like, I am a Batman fan at heart. Like, I was born and raised as a Batman fan. So for me, I just like Batman games. If they pumped out a Batman game every year until I died, I'd be pretty happy. But sat here in 2025 with the retrospective view of we have Shadows, we have Night, we have Origins, we have City, we have Asylum, we have Arkham VR, we have Blackgate, we have all these Arkham games. Like there's like 6 or 7. Well, if you include the mobile games, there's like 15 or something. But I feel like now, yes, the Arkham series should probably take a little bit of a backseat to try and push, I don't know, like the Wonder Woman game that just got cancelled, or a Superman game, or a Flash game, or something else, something different. And say, I personally would just want Batman games, because I don't really particularly have an interest in a Flash game, because for me, it's very hard to make a Flash game interesting, or even a Superman game. Unless everyone has kryptonite weapons, a Superman game to me just seems a bit boring. But something like a Wonder Woman game, that could be fun, or you need to pick and choose your heroes because you need a character who works in the realms of a video game, a character who can take damage, who can die to something that isn't like superhero bullshit. Like, you need to pick and choose. Like a Green Arrow game, that could be really cool. Like, something along those lines could be cool. So I kind of agree. I don't agree with the first part that the Arkham series is overrated. I think it's perfectly rated. But the fact that they need to take a step back from the Arkham series and look at the hundreds of other DC heroes who could have really cool games, or even villains. Like a DC villain game. Like, can you imagine like a Deathstroke game or a Deadshot game? I appreciate that's still kind of Batman and thus Arkham, because if DC do a Batman character in the Arkhamverse, it'll be an Arkham game technically. But anyway, like a Deadshot game or a Deathstroke game, like where you're an assassin, ooh, that could be cool. Like, there's so many options you could go for. So the first part, no. Second part, yes. I would agree with this to an extent, because I personally think Batman is the most interesting character DC have, but at the same time, I feel like we're very spoiled as Batman fans at the moment. We've got Absolute Batman, we've got the Arkham series, we've got, obviously, Robert Pattinson's The Batman, we've got the DCEU, or the DCU, coming soon. hopefully with Alan Richardson. So I think we are very spoiled as Batman fans at the moment. So I think, yeah, you could take a step back. Give us time to really immerse ourselves in the content we've got. The next take is the community is partly to blame for Origin not getting recognition and re-release it deserves, because they unfairly shat on it and let it flop on release just because it wasn't Rocksteady. Game never fully recovered after that and probably never will. Origins deserved so much better. 10 out of 10, 100% agree. Yes, this is, for me, this is as an agreeable as a take as you can get, and I just wanted to put it in here to really just kind of glaze this take a bit, because I agree with it so much. Yes, the community is, I would say, 75-25. That's the split. Like, the community's a lot to blame for Origins failing, and people now coming around to it. For me, like, you're the reason the game didn't do well. Like, it just, for me, Origins, I have a lot of memories attached to Origins. This is coming from a place of serious rose-tinted glasses. But Origins, for me, I never saw why people hated it. I never got it. And again, I was quite young when it came out, so I don't think I maybe understood that, oh yeah, people might not like it because it's not a Rocksteady game, or it changes this, or it changes that. But for me, it's great. It's such a good game, and it always has been. Like, and so I don't see why people hated it when it came out. And the reason it will probably never get a re-release is because of the people who, when it came out, went, I don't like this because it's not Rocksteady, or it changes this, or the Joker's in it. Like, so what? It's a great game. Like, I don't want to come across as like I'm attacking people who don't like Origins. I'm not. I'm attacking the people who, when it came out, went on the internet and were like, Origins is shit. Like, don't ever play. Like, because it's not fair. Like, it has weak parts. All the Arkham games have weak parts. Origins, for me, its weakest part is its performance. I feel like it doesn't play particularly well sometimes. Like, frames dip, it crashes. But a re-release could fix that, and a re-release could make Origins a genuine, unequivocal 10 out of 10 game. Like, again, this isn't particularly a hot take. I just kind of wanted to talk about Origins and its release. It got shat on. It got done really dirty, and the fact that only now, over a decade after its release, people are like, well, actually, Origins is really good, and if you don't like it, you're wrong, after they hated it. I just feel like it's a bit backwards, and say Origins for me is such a great game, and the person finishes it off with saying Origins deserved so much better, and I couldn't put it better myself. It did deserve so much better. Origins, it just deserved more love. And sadly, obviously, we can't go back in time and reverse that, so it will probably just stay forever as the black sheep of the Arkham franchise, which, obviously, now that reputation's kind of being fixed with them going forward, building it into the world, and I feel like that's nice. Like, I feel like even Arkham Shadow is kind of a love letter to Origins, in that it's like yeah, Origins, you're not alone. Like, we recognise you, and Knight obviously integrated a lot of the villains, or let's say a few of the villains from that game, and made callbacks to it. So I feel like Origins is being slowly but surely integrated into the wider Arkham universe, and I think that's really cool, because Origins, for me, I love. This is a 10 out of 10 take. The next take we've got is people say Arkham City has the best story, but I personally believe Arkham Asylum has the best story. It genuinely feels like you're playing through a Batman comic book. It's a comfy game, and exploring Arkham Asylum's secrets is super fun to me. Much more than City and Night, because they were too big. Again, this for me, I really like this take. Like, these last two haven't really been hot takes, they're just takes that I thought articulated thoughts I have just better than I articulate them. But yeah, this is great. Like, I don't know what the best Arkham story is. I'd say it's probably Origins, maybe. But personally believing that Asylum has the best story is a really cool take. I think that's really cool. I don't know if I agree with it particularly. I think the story often boils down to Oracle going, Batman, I googled this and it says this. But I feel like this person says it genuinely feels like you're playing through a Batman comic book. It does, and I think that's why it's really cool. Again, this person said it's a comfy game, and exploring Arkham Asylum secrets are super fun to me. Again, I agree. Arkham Asylum for me is probably the game I've 100%ed most after Night, because it is just such a, like this person says, it's a comfy game. You know what you're going to get. It's not too big. It's like a nice meal, it's like your favourite meal. Like, you can just come back to it, you know what you're going to get. You're not going to get any surprises. You know exactly what you're getting exactly what you want. And Asylum for me is that. It's such a fun game to just chill out on. Like, again, it's not too big. It was made before we had giant maps filled with thousands of quest markers. Not that any of the Arkham games have that, but you get the point. And so yeah, I really like this take. 10 out of 10. Just I don't even know if I agree with it. Just a 10 out of 10 because I like the fact that someone else feels the same way about Asylum I do, that it is like playing through a comic book. It's like playing through a serious house on serious Earth meets No Man's Land meets, I don't know, Arkham DNA. I don't know how Arkham had a comic book before the game came out. Shut up, that's not the point. The point is, this person's correct, and I really like this. Saying that Arkham Knight and City were too big, yeah, they were pretty big, but again, they were good, so I don't know about that. But yeah, moving on to the final take. This one actually became a two-part take, because when I screenshotted it, I tried to only screenshot one, and two were caught in the screenshot when I cropped it, and when I looked at the one that would like tagged along with it, I thought, ooh, that's quite good, isn't it? So we've got Troy Baker's Joker is terrible, or just let that one sit, is terrible, and Roger Craig Smith is just as good as Kevin Conroy. Now, okay, right, this is a two-parter. We'll start off with the first part. Troy Baker's Joker is terrible. This is factually just not correct. I guess this is what a hot take is. This is just not true. Troy Baker's Joker isn't terrible. In fact, I would argue most people, if they didn't know the difference between Troy Baker and Mark Hamill's respective Jokers, especially in Arkham Origins, would have gone, oh, that's Mark Hamill doing that. Yeah, obviously there's the differences and whatever. I can see why you might not like Troy Baker's Joker as much as Mark Hamill's, but to say he's terrible, like Suicide Squad killed the Justice League Twinkler terrible, nah, I really don't agree with that at all. That gets a 1 out of 10 for me. Like, again, I can see why you might not like it as much, but to say it's terrible is really harsh, because I really think Troy Baker's Joker is quite good, like really good. And then the next part of this one's probably going to spark a lot of debate in the comments even, because it already has on a few other videos. Roger Craig Smith is just as good as Kevin Conroy. Now this one, it depends what you want in a Batman. I personally think Kevin Conroy's Batman is the best Batman ever, period. Live action, comics, whatever. I appreciate comics, he doesn't have a voice, so live action, film, game, whatever. Kevin Conroy for me is Batman. And say what you want about, oh, well, he's not really Batman, though, is he? Because he doesn't play him. He played him once, so cry about it. But Kevin Conroy, for me, is Batman. When I read a comic, I read it in his voice. When I read anything Batman-related, I read it in his voice. So, for me, he's the best Batman. To say Roger Craig Smith is up there, yes. I would agree that he's up there in the pantheon of great Batman. Is he just as good as Kevin Conroy? I don't know. I'd have to think about that a lot more than I can do here without sitting in silence and making this video 2 hours long, because I think he's got a good Batman voice, and I feel like he's a lot more emotive as Batman, which is really nice, because I feel like often Kevin Conroy came across a bit flat, as in his Batman wasn't very emotional, but I think that just meant that when he was, it hit that much harder. Because Kevin Conroy's Batman in the animated series, in the animated movies, in games, he always came across to me as the stone wall Batman. Like, you just know what you're going to get. You're going to get Batman. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't move. He's the insurmountable force of justice. Whereas Roger Craig Smith's Batman, and I guess this is because he plays him at a younger point in his career, is kind of the antithesis of that. Like, he's so driven by emotion and so driven by anger and pain and just almost hatred for criminals of Gotham that, yeah, Roger Craig Smith has a lot more time and a lot more opportunities to make his Batman emotive. And so, yeah, I can kind of see how you would think that he's just as good. And again, it depends what you want in a Batman. I've said it before, personally, I really like sort of the Arkham Asylum Batman we got, where he's just Batman. Like, you don't get anything deeper than what you get on the surface. Obviously, I like Batman to be a bit deeper, but as a outline, I like that sort of Batman. But yeah, this one's a bit strange for me. I don't disagree with it. I don't agree with it either. I'll give it a 10 out of 10 for I can see how someone could think this. Like, very easily, because you could probably, if you sat and convinced me, I would probably believe this too. But I don't feel like we've seen enough Roger Craig Smith yet to make that assumption. Because you have to think, Kevin Conroy played Batman for, like, what, 30 years-ish? I'll put it on screen how long he played Batman. I can't remember. I'm trying to think when the animated series came out and when his last performance was, which I believe was just, or obviously he recorded it just before he died, but it came out just after he died. So it must be 30 years-ish. So Kevin Conroy for me has a lot bigger pull to look at and go, yeah, like, he didn't really ever drop the ball. Like, I feel like one of his weakest performances for me was Arkham City, just because he was so emotionless. Like, and I don't think that's his fault, because he still played the Batman character really well. I think that was the script's fault, because it never really gave him chance to be emotional, or to show that emotional side of Batman, which he does have. And I hate this idea that Batman is just this, like, emotionless creature, because I don't think he's not Batman, but he isn't, like, at heart. Yeah, he portrays that, but he's not, and I feel like that's why you could make the case for Roger Craig Smith being just as good as Kevin Conroy at certain things. I think okay, this is a good question. Who would I want to hear to do Batman's voice for the rest of time, right? It would be Kevin Conroy. Roger Craig Smith might be a close second if all I'm watching is obviously like that sort of story where Batman can get a bit angrier. But as a whole, I would want Kevin Conroy to play Batman forever. And it's a shame he can't, because that man just in general is a huge inspiration for me. I think he was an amazing person, an even better Batman, like, great guy. But then you look at Roger Craig Smith and you think, yeah, he's good. He's good. I can see how you could think this one. For me, I don't know where I stand on this one, so I'll leave it open-ended. Let me know in the comments below, do you think Roger Craig Smith is just as good as Kevin Conroy, or is he slightly worse? Again, I don't think Roger Craig Smith isn't a bad Batman. Just let me know in the comments below, because I genuinely, like, I'm not doing this debate interaction. Well, I kind of am, but I don't know where I stand on this one, so I'll leave it up to you, and then maybe make my decision in the next video, because this is going to take a lot of thinking. But yeah, that's it for today. That was all of the hottest takes from the last video. So thank you for watching so much. It means the world. We're nearly so close to 2,000 subscribers, so hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.